Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to discuss about some more aggregate function. So in the last video, we discussed about the max and minimum aggregate function. And today's video, we are going to discuss about sum, average and count aggregate function. And also we are going to discuss about the examples related to this aggregate function and how we can use that using the group by clause as well. So let's quickly revise what exactly means by aggregate function. So basically aggregate functions takes a multiple input rows and return a single summary value. So instead of looking at each row individually, this function help to summarize or analyze the large data set. We discussed what is the aggregate function in detail in the last session. So if you need more information, I am providing that video link here so you can check that out. So let's discuss about sum, average and the count aggregate function. So as the name suggests, sum is basically used to add all the numerical values in the column. Average we are using to calculate the arithmetic mean, that is means by average. And count we are using to use to count the number of rows or the values. And we are using this aggregate function with the group by to perform the calculation with logical groups of data. And what is group by and how to write the syntax and the examples related to the group by already we discussed in the separate video of the group by. Still, let's revise what exactly mean by group by. So group by is a clause used in SQL to arrange rows into group of rows that share the same value in one or more column. So it is used to collapse many rows into few summary rows. So it creates like a group. We will discuss that in the today's session as well with this aggregate function. And after grouping, you can apply aggregate function to each group. So let's discuss how we can write the syntax and everything for all the aggregate function, sum, average and count. So first we will discuss about the sum aggregate function. Before that, in the last video, we already created the sales table in the employee database only. So I'm going to use the same table for the today's execution as well. So let's see what exactly the data available in the sales table. So for that, I'm going to write a simple select query. So I'm writing select star from dbo.sales. So here you can see we have the 5 records and column names like cell ID. Then we have the employee name. As per the employee, there are each department mentioned and how much sale they have done. The sale amount is mentioned and the sale date is mentioned. So this value is available with us. And on this value, we are going to perform this aggregate function sum, average and count. So first we will discuss about the sum aggregate function. So as we discussed, the purpose of the sum aggregate function, it adds up all the numerical values. So for example, I want to find out the total sales amount by the employee. In that case, I can use the sum aggregate function and it ignores all the null value. Let's see one example related to the sum aggregate function. So suppose I want to find out the total sales per employee. In that case, I can use the sum with the group by. First, let's find out the total sale. Then we will find out the total sale per employee. So the example one is find out total sale. So you will understand what exactly the difference when we are not using the group by clause and when we are using the group by clause. So first we are not going to use the group by clause, just I'm going to use the aggregate function. So the first thing I want is the total sale. In that case, first I'm going to write same select query like select star from dbo dot sales. So here we want to perform the sum operation on the sale amount because we need to find out the total sale done by all the employees. So in that case, we need to perform the sum aggregate function on the sale amount. How to write this query? Instead of the star, you can write the aggregate function sum. In bracket, you need to mention the column name. So here the column name is the cell amount. So right now, when I written this aggregate function on this column name, so it will perform this sum aggregate function on this column name as the cell amount. And here we need to give the alias name. So you can write as, or you can put the alias name in the square bracket as well. So I'm writing as, and we are trying to find out the total cell. So I'm giving the name as the total cell. So what I'm expecting in the output, I will get the output one column as name as the total cell, where I can see all the cell amount added and the final value I can see in this total cell column. So let's execute this one and let's see what exactly the output we are getting. So here you can see the total cell amount it is showing is 5200. So basically it is adding all the amount mentioned here in the cell amount. You can manually validate this as well, as there are very small amounts. You can cross verify this one. Now the next example, I'm going to include the group by clause. So we will find out the total cell per employee. So when you want to group some employee's name, in that case you can want a group by clause. You need to write the group by clause. So same query I need to write. This is example 2 and we are find total cells per employee. I will copy the same query we have created above. So I'm copying the same query. Let's see what exactly the changes I need to do here to find out per employee cell. Okay, so first thing I need to write is I need to mention the employee name column here, because that value I want in the output. So basically I want total cell done per employee. So I want employee name column as well in the output. Okay. So now you can see if I execute this query, I will get the error. Let's see what exactly the error I'm getting. So if you read this error, I'm getting the error as dbo.sales.employee name is invalid in the select list because it is not contained in either aggregate function or in the group by clause. So we already discussed this in the group by session video. So if the column name is not contained aggregate function, then it should be mentioned in the group by clause. Otherwise, we will get the same error message. So basically, after from, I need to write group by using employee name. So let's write group by employee name. So whatever the column name which are not considered in the aggregate function, that column name we need to mention in the group by clause. Suppose there is a one more column name like employee ID. That also I need to mention in the group by clause if it is not contained in the aggregate function. So let's execute this, and now you can see the sales done per employee. You can cross verify using this dbo.sales data as well. So these are the example related to the sum aggregate function. Next we are going to discuss about is the average aggregate function. So let's discuss what exactly the purpose of the average aggregate function. So average is basically computes the average arithmetic mean of a numerical value. It used when you want to find out suppose average order value per customer. In that case, you can use the average aggregate function, and it ignore all the null values, same like the sum aggregate function. So for this sales data, let's see one example how we can use the average aggregate function. So let's see all the data again. So I will find out first average sell amount, then we will see average sell amount per department. So we will see these two examples here. So first example is example 1. I want to find average sell amount So in this case, I'm going to use just average aggregate function. As we are not doing anything grouping, so we don't need to use the group by clause for this related query. So let's write the query for this one. So first I'm going to write is our basic simple query, select star from dbo.sales. After that, we need to perform the average aggregate function on the cell amount. So as we discussed in the previous query as well, we need to write first the aggregate function, in the bracket mention the column name. So the column name here is the cell amount. And let's execute this query. Okay, sorry, we need to give the alias name as well. So if you see, if you are not given any alias name, there the column name will come as the blank. That name is coming as a no column name. So we need to give some meaningful column name here. So currently this is like average amount. So I'm giving the name as the average amount. You can give any column name here like average sale amount or anything. So whatever for your understanding purpose, you can give this alias name. So I'm executing this query now. So you can see the average amount is 1040. Okay. Then after this, we are going to include a group by clause here. So let's discuss the example 2 with the group by clause. So I need to find out the average sale amount, again the same query, but per department. So find average sale amount per department. So in this case, I need to use group by clause, and group by condition I need to put on the department name. So I'm going to use the same query. I'm copy pasting this query and putting in here. And here we need to mention the department name. So I can mention here as well, comma, department. Okay. And we need to put this department in the group by clause. As we discussed, if you are not put this department in the group by clause, we will get the error. So whatever the column name we have not put in the aggregate function, which is not containing the aggregate function, all the column name we need to put in the group by clause. So group by department. And let's execute this query now. Now you can see the query is showing. Okay, I need to put here. Okay, sorry. Here department name I don't need to give, as I can cut it from here. And here we need to put the average amount. So let's execute this again. So now you can see department wise, you can see the average amount or the average sale done by the department. So electronics department average sale is 1233, and furniture department average sale is 750. So you can find out the average sale amount per department using average aggregate function and using the group by clause. Then the next aggregate function is the count aggregate function. So basically count aggregate function is used to calculate or find out the number of rows or non-null values in the column. So you can use the count in two form. Suppose I want to count all the rows. In that case, I can write count and star. So it will count how many rows are present in that particular table. We can also use like a count column, like how we use the other aggregate function like sum, average. We used to put the column name inside the bracket. In the same way, we can also use this count and column name we can provide inside the bracket. It counts only null values in that column. So basically, count we can use in the two form. The first count star is basically to find out the number of rows, and the count column is basically to find out the non-null values in the column. So let's see one example related to the count aggregate function. So suppose I want to find out the number of cells per employee. Okay, so let's see what exactly the data first available in the table and what exactly the output we are expecting. So there are multiple employee name are mentioned. So Elias is coming twice, Bob is coming twice, but Carol is only once. So this is the number of sales they have performed. So Elias performed two sales, Bob performed two sales, and Carol performed only one sale. So I want to find out the number of sales per employee. Basically, I'm counting the rows. So in that case, I can use the group by clause and the count aggregate function. So group by clause, what it will do, it will group this rows, right? So Alice it will group, then Bob it will group, and Carol is the one group. So this will group, and we will use the count aggregate function on that to find out the number of rows per employee. So basically we are using both aggregate function and the group by clause. So let's discuss this example. I want to find number of cells per employee. So the first thing I'm going to write is the basic select query. Then as we discussed, we need to put the group by clause as we want per employee. So first I'm writing this employee name here. And we are not going to perform any aggregate function on the employee name. That's why we need to mention that in the group by clause. After that, we need to perform aggregate function here. So basically we want to count the number of rows. And as we discuss here, so if you want to find out the number of rows, in that case, you can use this count aggregate function. And instead of the column name, you can put the star. So it will find out the number of rows. So here I can write count star. So it will find the number of rows. And here also we need to give the alias name. So basically we are finding the number of cells. So basically what we are doing, we are putting the employee name in the group by. So it will create the group using the employee name who are having the similar name, and it will count the number of rows. So Alice is coming twice, Bob is coming twice, and Carol is coming only once. So it will find out the number of cells done by each employee. So let's see what exactly the output it is showing. So as we discussed, it is showing the correct output. Alice and Bob did sell twice, and Carol did sells only one. So those details we are seeing in the output. So count star basically counts all the rows per group, and you can also use the count column to count the non-null values in that column only. So these are the remaining aggregate function. So in the last video we discussed some aggregate function like max and minimum to find out the maximum value from the column, and minimum to find out the minimum value from the column. Sum is a basically add all the numerical value. Average is to calculate the average or arithmetic mean, and count is basically counting the rows, number of rows, or the number of non-null values. So these aggregate functions are very useful in the case to find out or grouping purpose or to find out or analyzing the data. So in that case, aggregate functions are very useful. So if you need more examples related to this aggregate function, let me know in the comment section. I will try to provide more such examples. And if you have any question, you can also put down that in the comment section. I will try to respond them as soon as possible. Hope this video is useful for you. Please like, share and subscribe to this video. Thank you for watching this video till the end and have a nice day.